In the case that this is actually part 2, welcome to Ben and the Family Quest. I'm here in my backyard shed slash studio that's still coming together. I am going through this shoebox that is full of my old notebooks, journals, personal mementos. I made another video that came out last Friday that you might want to start with that one, give it a little bit more backstory, just to sort of get to know you experiment. Let's get into it. I'm gonna pick up where I left off. All right, got a couple more journals here. These ones should be interesting. These ones are gonna date back like, I bet over a decade on some of these, so we'll see what I can find here. Oh wow, this tells you how long ago it was. Because I studied music production in school, the loan that I had to get through that, it included buying a couple things like my iMac that I had for like a decade. I bought that with my student loan, which of course, you know, when you're 17, this is why my whole generation is like buried in debt. When you're 17, it's like, oh, it's basically free. You don't have to pay for it for a couple years, and it's a computer, sweet. And then like that iMac with all this friggin' interest, it probably cost me like 10 grand, I don't know. Anyways, I'm not bitter. Oh, this is from the first recordings I made with my friend Garth. And I think this is the first time we re-recorded a lot of it, because the first time I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Wow. I didn't know I had some of this stuff. This one says 5 stages of new plan. So I did this thing when I was 17. I started a blog called The New Plan Project, I think is what I called it. And basically I used it as the reason to quit my job that I hated, that I only had for like a week. Which is a theme in my life. I worked at Quiznos for like 2 or 3 shifts. I made 1 sandwich. I remember one night they had me mop the floor, and like, I was so dumb. I remember like the floor was so wet. You know, with a mop you're supposed to dip it and then drain it and then wipe it on. I think I was just dipping it and just sloshing it around. I just remember like one customer coming in and just being like, wow, and like ice skating across the floor. Oh my goodness. I did this blog thing where I called it my New Plan Project, and it was gonna involve music and writing, and it did a little bit. It's interesting to see this. I mean, I was 17, here I am 10 years later doing a lot of the same ideas. Like I wanna make content, I wanna make music, I wanna share ideas. Like this is stuff I was doing at 17. And this wasn't even my first thing like this. So it's been over 10 years of trying to do this. It's kind of cool to see these threads of like, this is what I want to do. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. There's a couple friends where I was gonna like make them a song, and then we were gonna sell this many copies. I didn't think I was this old. This one says 1 song, MySpace download. I never even had a MySpace. Maybe my friend had a MySpace, and that's why. I had Facebook early on, but MySpace. Older than I thought it was. I mean, like mapping out my website. I think I had a Blogspot website. Do you remember those? I had multiple ones of those. Again, multiple ideas. And someday I'm gonna do a whole episode about trying to dig out some of the ideas that no one's ever seen. Like, wow. I think there's some dust in these notebooks. Anyways, there were so many ideas that I never even shared with a single person. And I'm glad, because they're probably really dumb. Okay, so here's a kind of cool one. Here's a set list. From the first year, I put together a cover band with my guitar teacher and a few others, and we played at this big Chamber of Commerce dinner that happened every year in our town, and I think it was like 400 to 500 people. I don't remember. It was a pretty big crowd, and we played during like the social hour, and people were like drinking and hanging out. It was in the Grand, which is this great old theater in our town, and people were mingling like down in the seats, and the bar was on the stage of the theater. So the band was actually up in the back of the room where the projector was. And so we were like up above looking down on everyone. And it was just like a really cool experience to get to play up there. And it actually kind of took the pressure off too, because people weren't really watching you too much. You were just kind of up there playing your songs up in the ceiling. It was really fun. Here's another idea I had to raise some money so I could buy equipment. 24-hour rockathon. Me sitting in a rocking chair for 24 hours. Oh. Okay, 24-hour rockathon. I can't say it with a straight face. Me sitting in a rocking chair for 24 hours just playing music or sitting there. I think the sitting there is what makes me laugh. Like people are gonna give me money because I just sit there. Okay. No further details on that. I think it was just, that must have been something I jotted down. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Here's me starting to write some lyrics. I'm not gonna share those, 'cause I'm sure they suck. It's weird. I don't know what this is about. This is interesting. This is, I'm guessing, this one doesn't have a date on it, but based off some other entries around it, probably about 10 years ago exactly. This was still under the name The New Plan Project that I was working on. I can't remember if I had like the blog active at this point or not. But there's like little bullet points I wrote. Number 1 says The Chronicles of the Journey of a Young Artist. That sounds very self-important. And then number 2, a tribe of people learning to dream big and then pursue these dreams with everything. It honestly doesn't sound that different than this whole Ben and the Family Quest thing. So again, these are not new ideas. These have been kicking around in my head and in my notebooks for over a decade. Another very poorly drawn WordPress website layout. Wow, this is an interesting lyric. Now we're getting to some good stuff. This is like so speaking to some of these things that I, feel strongly about now. Sometimes these days feel like meaningless races. All I did was draw a finish line. Now I'm chasing something and I feel alive. Like, and my next song is called The Chase, and it's playing with the idea of like chasing a girl and that kind of rush, but then what do you do when you're just in a long-term relationship and then kind of turning outward and chasing something big together. Man, so many different ideas I've had. Multiple EP concept idea. The Pledge, The Turn, and the Prestige. That's from the movie The Prestige, the Christopher Nolan movie. So obviously I'd probably just watch that. I'm like, oh, 3 things. I could turn that into a music project. Did I ever? No. The purpose of New Plan, a music project, is to build a tribe that will passionately listen to my stories. I actually wrote the word music, crossed it out, and wrote stories, which is again getting at this concept that like I've always been interested in doing something more than just making music. So the purpose of this is to build a tribe that will be engaged with what I'm doing while equipping tribe member to tribe member relationships. Again, this is something I have different ideas in the works with what I want to do here is make this not just about like a consumer relationship where I put something out and you consume it, but enabling ways for different people to connect. And even if you connect and then forget about me, that's cool. Like I've done my job. And all this language about tribes, I think probably comes from reading Seth Godin's book, Tribes, which he's a big influence on me. All right, this one looks done. Oh yeah, some random math. Just remember doing math? That sucked. All right, I know this notebook has some goodies in it. I've had this for a long time. Oh boy. Yep, I just flipped through and caught a glimpse of notes from Driver's Ed. So that's how long I've had this one. Let's see what we can find. First page is me pricing out things, and I'm pricing out Driver's Ed, how much I'm gonna have to pay for Driver's Ed class, how much this microphone's gonna cost. Whoa, there's a bunch of words. Maybe I'll have to do I think I might have to devote another episode entirely sometime to analyzing some of my early song lyrics. Because there's just too much to think about here. Here's some algebra with the word Paramore written at the top. So apparently I was listening to Paramore. And some algebra with me practicing my signature on top. So there's that. I'm just like into reading these lyrics now. There's some interesting stuff in here. See, this page back here says February 2010. I'm definitely seeing a lot more lyrics. It sounds about right. About that 16, 17 years old is when I started to really be writing a lot more songs. I was definitely doing it before then. This page had a girl's name on it, and I was like, "Ooh, is that? Hopefully that's out of the shot. I don't want to leave that in the shot." Just page after page of just lyrics. I love, like, this is something I bet a lot of songwriters do. Like down here it just says sideline Sidelines, fine line. So it's like, I must have just been working on something. I was like, oh, that's a nice little rhyme. That sounds pleasant to come out of my mouth. I don't know what it means yet. Here, I want to break these down at some point. What offers some insight into, you know, my brain as a 16, 17-year-old. Like what was true back then of me that's still very true, and what's not, what has changed. Just as a side note too, it's not that I'm not that interesting. This is just, I think, do this for yourself sometime. It's a lot of fun to kind of see how you were thinking at one point. There's a decent amount of like songs about leaving home, about talking about small town versus city. There's a lot of that I'm seeing in these pages of kind of starting to long for the next chapter, which I think is really common. And that's one interesting thing about my story that I didn't see coming, which was I, for a long time, pictured, you know, going away either to college or after college or, you know, whatever. And I figured I would move to, I looked at Nashville, Boston, Orlando, Denver. I looked at some of those cities, and I was looking at apartments in Nashville when I met Aaron here in Maine, and that just shifted the whole story. And we eventually, you know, got married and moved to North Carolina as a unit. It just was a different order of things than I thought. And these songs are reminding me, just there was a sense of like putting time in and just sort of waiting for the next chapter to start. There's a lot of that sort of melodramatic lyrics here. Here we go, we're getting into some better songs. This is now September of 2011. And I must have given this one some thought because it's actually like verse, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge. I remember this one. It was called In Silence on the Shore. I don't like it. I feel like a lot of like early songwriters, myself most definitely included, like the early stuff tends to like be so, there's this certain vibe that lyrics can have where it's like trying to be poetic, but it's not. It's just not great. I don't know. It's like one of those things you don't know it, you can't quite describe it, but you know it when you see it. Just like the attempting to be poetic, but it's just something that's cheesy about it. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that I don't still do that as a songwriter, so that's all so subjective, I guess. And a couple songs at the end, and then this last page has a page ripped out. Oh my goodness, I just realized why. The top of the page has most of my social security number on it. As I just showed that to the camera. Gonna make sure that doesn't make it to the edit. All right, and that is the end of another notebook. Now we're getting down to the bottom here. I got a couple other random things. A really, really, really smooth rock. I wish you could feel this rock, guys. It's so smooth. There's a few beaches around here where there's something about the algae that washes up on shore that it just like coats all the rocks in this. Yeah, they're just so smooth. And I probably wasn't supposed to steal this rock. It's just a great rock. I'm gonna put this on my desk. It's like a good little like fidget toy. It's also just very satisfying to. Just so smooth. This is the world's smoothest rock. Oh my gosh, it's so satisfying. I'm gonna keep that over here. All right, so there you have it. That's the shoebox that's under my bed. You don't have to like break in. You don't have to ask. You no longer have to like sneak away during a dinner party and like, you know, creepily go through my stuff. I just voluntarily put it on the internet for you. So this was fun for me. I think it provided some stories that you may not know about me. And this is just what we're doing here on the channel for the next little bit. Not this exact thing, not just rummaging through my private stuff over and over again. Just this, yeah, trying to get to know me and my family and my story better so that we can kind of lay the groundwork. And then as we pivot into what's next for the YouTube channel, you can feel like you know me a little bit more. So until next time, have a good one. I'm Ben Crossway. This has been In the Family Quest. Make sure you subscribe, all those things. See you later. All right, I think I'm done.